I want to ask you what you think is the most trollish form of communism.
The most trolling form of communism.
I mean,
if I was being a smart bastard, I'd probably say Cambodia.
Communism is a trollish ideology. I mean, it's just think of it. What it says is that somehow there will be a classless society. There will be no consciousness of property. No one will think in terms of mine and yours. It is a bit trollish, and there are many kinds. You have Marxists, Leninists, Marxist-Leninists, Maoists, Stalinists, Trotskyists.
And then the Cambodians, what if I kill all these babies? Then we'll all be equal.
Yes, and also Cambodians say, you're wearing glasses, therefore you must be a bad person. Let me kill you. So there are lots of trollish forms of communism because communism, let's face it, it is a trollish ideology. Now, but I found the most trollish one, I think. It's MAGA Communism.
Is this real or not?
Well,
is this a proposal for it?
No, it's not a proposal. I would propose to the same people who are behind it, to the masterminds behind MAGA Communism, that the next one they should put forward is Stalinist Trotskyism.
Okay.
Something like that, because it's the ultimate synthesis. Somehow all things come together, all forces combine, and they create something that is actually liberating, and everyone else thought it was contradictory, but because we were fools, something like that.
You ever heard of the Nazbols?
No.
You know what Nazbols are?
No.
National Bolsheviks?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, they're a real thing in Russia, but follow the conversation.
Yeah. Now, right. Okay, before we talk more about MAGA communism, you could visit the website, and for £5 a month, you can gain access to all our wonderful premium content and watch videos such as Symposium 35, on value pluralism that I did with Carl. Let me say one thing. Value pluralism is not multiculturalism. Some people just misunderstood the video completely. We're talking about something completely different. It's about utopianism, because lots of the times, the communists, for instance, they're telling us that in that state of communism, all values will be compatible and all of them will come together and there will be no conflict of value. We are examining with Carl a theory called value pluralism that says that this ultimately cannot happen. So if you want to see an interesting rebuttal of this communist promise, you can check our video. Now, let's go to our next link here. But let's say, Jackson Hinkle?
No, I don't ring a bell.
You know Haz al-Din?
No.
There are two debate bros who are the masterminds behind MAGA communism. Now, you could tell me that, well, lots of people from the audience could tell me, well, if these people are trollish, why do you give them the airtime? The answer is, I'm not giving them the airtime. They have already been seen. Jackson Hinkle has appeared on Timcast and Tucker Carlson. So it's not exactly that they are obscure. So let's watch the next clip. Video.
Do you identify as communist?
Yes.
What is the value of communism?
Orienting government and the economy for the public good.
But I think that's like an oversimplification.
Well,
or idealistic.
Simply, that's what it is. I mean, I think that any communist state that takes form in America is going to have communist values, or American values rather. It's going to be based on the history of our country, the Constitution. I think it would be a Christian communist state, and I think that we can learn a lot from China and from the Soviet Union. But you look at China today; their economy is outpacing ours. It's gonna beat ours totally, probably within the next 5 to 10 years. Europe is going down, the U.S. is going down. China lifted 845 million people out of poverty in the last 40 years. I think that we shouldn't be China, but I think we can learn things from China and the Soviet Union and other countries that have done it successfully.
Successfully?
Do you think China
didn't do it successfully? Fell apart.
Yeah, well, they fell apart in 69 years.
Why don't you tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, as far as you want to go in your past, up to you personally.
Web, okay. Okay, so I want you to watch the Twitter account of this person. It seems like the wallpaper screams, I'm in favor of the masses, and I want to liberate the people.
I do actually recognize the account now. I didn't recognize the name.
Yes.
He always posts like pro-Russia stuff. And
Yes.
then recently he started posting like pro-Soviet Union stuff, and I got really weirded out by it.
Yes.
It's just like, if you're pro-Russia, Russians don't do this.
I mean,
like not just, hey, wasn't it cool? Like stuff like, well, I think you're about to show it actually.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, wasn't the Soviet Union great? And it's like, no.
I mean, you heard him talking on Timcast, where he was saying, for instance, that the basic argument is China is outpacing the US economy. In the last 4 decades, the Chinese economy has lifted up 845,000 people from poverty. And that there is going to be a new form of MAGA communism that will, let's say, take over America, the US. And it's going to be based on Christian communism and the Constitution.
Okay.
How does this sound?
Retarded.
But maybe there's the thing here. This is the issue with giving the benefit of the doubt to your political opponents, because sometimes, sometimes maybe we miss something. Okay.
I've got something here though, which is that. So, getting back to Russia, I mean, like Russia's a really weird place politically.
Yes.
And I don't mean to talk about the apparatus of power. I mean the ideologies of the people interacting with politics. Because you go and hang out with them, and they'll have like the Imperial Russian stuff, communist stuff, and then like nationalist Putin stuff.
Yes. And
you ask them, like, how does this fit together exactly? And they're like, well, there's aspects of all of them.
But also the other question, I mean, he answered, what's the value to the question, what is the value of communism? He said, government orientation of the economy for the public good. Or he said, orienting the government and the economy for the public good. I mean, that's not exactly a definition of communism, let alone an answer as to what is valuable.
It is actually a realistic definition of communism.
In what sense?
Well, you know how the communists will be like, oh no, we have this ideal of blah, 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 and it never comes to be. Every time a communist state gets tried, it just becomes what the fascists describe themselves as.
Yes.
Which is the whole economy and everything being run by the state for the state's purposes.
Yes, but
which is actually his answer, which is what communism does lead to.
This is what I don't know if this is what he ultimately thinks, because I don't know actually whether he's well read. It seems to me that he's not. But definitely, you could say that the communists are in favor of central planning of the economy and society. But first of all, just saying that you're in favor of the common good and the public good doesn't say anything. Almost every...
the good things?
Almost, yes.
Wow, jeez.
Any supporter of any, let's say, political position, almost every supporter would say that what they're doing is actually structuring society to such an extent that they're promoting the common good. So this is not even an answer. It doesn't give you any way in which you can understand this. Oh, and also, I mean, there's plenty of stuff to say. I don't want to make it really, let's say, intellectual or something. It doesn't have to be. But it's really nice when he talks about communism based on the Constitution, on the American Constitution especially. Because what is the funniest thing about this is that, I mean, the spirit of the founding is a classical Republican one. The goal is to have a system of separation where powers are separated that is going to prevent people from gaining power. And communists are the exact opposite. They're telling us we're the good guys. We are not going to be corrupted by absolute power. So give us absolute power. So we are going to enforce the good, and basically the world is going to turn into a heaven. So it's really, really weird how this person thinks that the spirit of classical republicanism and separation of powers is compatible with a system like communism. And also one thing to say, because there's a lot of discussion about this. Technically speaking, communism is supposed to be classless society where the system has withered away. It's one of the promises that they're going to say. Somehow it's going to wither away. So even his definition shows to me that he hasn't really read a lot about what he's...
So is this just a meme? Because none of it makes sense.
You'll see. Let's give them
anyone
the
who knows anything about history or
doubt.
Communism is like, oh, this isn't...
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, let's go to the next link here.
You having trouble with the mouse?
Yep. Okay. Now, another...
This is what I mean. Like, he'll tweet stuff he's using the Russian flag there and saying, the new Soviet man was muscular, selfless, blah, blah, blah.
God-fearing, learned, and enthusiastic in spreading communism. The American liberal man is fat, atheistic, porn-addicted, transgender, and spreading the work mind virus. What's the work mind virus?
Woke mind virus. You just spell it wrong.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if this person makes mistakes. Okay, so how do you react when it comes to the first sentence? The new Soviet man was muscular, selfless, God-fearing, learned, and enthusiastic in spreading communism.
So I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but the new Soviet man was a stupid theoretical man in the minds of the upper echelons of the Soviet Union
that never
about how they wanted
to be.
people to be. And obviously never really existed because we can't actually even get enough calories to get to this peak physical condition for most people.
And
even this isn't actually that impressive. It's just they don't have much body fat, which is pretty easy to do in the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Okay, now, this is the one we saw. Now, let's see here. Someone got really annoyed. Lots of people got very annoyed. Phil Labonte was very annoyed, and he says
and you get very annoyed at this?
Yeah, he got very annoyed.
I just think it's funny. It's just...
No, he got very annoyed, and there is going to be a reappearance of Jackson Hinkle on Timcast on November 1, I think. And Phil will...
Can I get tickets?
Phil will restore justice. Now, this person here, Eric Suarez, says, communist MAGA, within quotation marks, patriot Jackson Hinkle doubles down on his belief that China is good because of communism. Couldn't be more wrong. Communists and historic illiteracy come hand in hand. The reason China had an economic boom is because the liberalization and embrace of free markets by Deng Xiaoping. You remember the argument that he gave on Timcast as to why communism is valuable is that basically, it's right now the Chinese economy is outpacing the US economy.
50 people out of poverty.
Yes, enlist. I want him to check, if he ever listened to this, I want him to check what's the great leap forward and see how communist policies were...
we did a book club on it. And one of the best pieces of information in there is there's a chart which Frank Staccotta makes of the average wealth of a Chinese citizen from the warlord era.
Yeah.
When everyone's just killing each other, and then compares it through the decades. And amazingly, during Mao's time in the Great Leap Forward, people were in real terms poorer in every regard than they were during the Japanese occupation. Never mind the warlord era. They were much better off in the warlord era. So... yeah, it's not that helpful.
It's not very good, but any person who has read just a bit of 20th century history is aware of it and is not an ideologue. Also, this is the tragedy of liberation that you talked about, Frank Decotter, the book club you did.
That's the first book, yeah.
Yes, and also you could check what Connor did. The real communism has already been tried. This is a really interesting talk that Connor gives. And it's 45 minutes. Just go watch it. Okay, now, you can see this meme here with Stalin and the MAGA hat.
Where's it going?
I knew you would appreciate it. Anyway, the first sentence is just killing me.
Okay, I'll let you go, and then I'm going to...
Tell me.
I got some thoughts, because Hinkle interacts with modern-day Russia a lot.
Yeah.
And in modern day Russia, this is kind of a real thing.
Yes.
Where they'll take Stalin stuff and just be like, yeah, he's just a patriot.
Yeah.
And that it works only in the Russian context. It's hard to explain properly. I've not put thought into making my words make sense. So
was it because Stalin had the doctrine of communism or socialism in one country? And they may say that he forwarded
It's not
Russia's
that theoretical. It's more just like he's our guy, and his actions were our guy sense.
Yes.
So don't get into the theory, but what did he do? Well, he gave us an empire.
Okay, yeah.
Which is, pre our guy thing to do.
Yeah, and he was really good to Russians. I'm obviously joking, okay? I'm obviously joking. Okay, a specter is haunting American politics, the specter of MAGA communism. MAGA Republicans have nothing to lose but their chains.
Rise up, brothers. Okay, you kind of brought me on now.
Yeah, anyway, so here it says a lot. It's just a funny article that you can read. It's in Compact Mag. It talks about Hazeldine and Jackson Hinkle. And basically what they're saying is that the premise of Aldine's argument is that Trump fundamentally and irreversibly changed American politics for the better if one believes in class struggle. Before 2016, the political landscape in the US was confined to two choices, the Democrat or Republican, was situated along different points of a narrow establishment continuum. Anyone who didn't pledge allegiance to the status quo was relegated to the margins of the political system, if not regarded as an enemy of the state. with Trump, all this changed. For the first time in a long time, a mass movement emerged that situated itself outside the status quo, against the status quo. And anyway, they're basically saying that things like the primary contradiction is in American politics is between MAGA and the status quo, and that MAGA is not Trump. They say something like, Trump has initiated the MAGA movement, but the MAGA movement is really ripe for
it's class consciousness of all of us rising up.
Yes, it's okay. And I want you to watch Hazeldine here. Where is the video?
Is there a link missing?
Yeah, there are 3 links missing. Anyway, it's okay. I'll just describe what was going on. It was Hazeldine is a debate bro by Michigan, and he is associated with Infrared. I think it's his YouTube account or something. Anyway, so what happens is that he was invited on Rumble by Lucas Cage, and we can watch a video here. Let's see if we can watch the first clip.
Why don't you tell us a little about yourself? Where you're from, as far as you want to go in your past, up to you personally.
The sound, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you what was going on. First of all, Hazeldine is on the right.
Communism, which we'll get into.
I don't know if the audience
can hear or not. I'll give you the floor.
Yeah.
It's okay. We can pause the video. We can pause the video. I get no audio. Anyway, so first of all, I must say the background is great. You have a golden scimitar, some swords, a golden lion there that it seems that if you can melt it and create gold coins that Dan would love.
Yeah, he's also sitting there in an Adidas tracksuit with a carpet on the wall, which
it's like, and a really nice carpet. I think it's a Persian carpet behind it. Anyway, so he says a lot of things. You could, this is a really funny interview. The interesting thing is that he makes some base claims. One of it is the first thing, how he came up with MAGA communism. He says that he was trying to talk to contemporary communists for 2 years. And his words, he saw that current communists in the West and the left were murderous psychopaths who wanted to kill you if you disagreed with them. I mean, it is a kind of a base claim. On the other hand, I want to add, when were communists not murderous psychopaths? That's one question. But it was refreshing to see this by him saying it. And anyway, it's just what is really funny here is that at some point, a really crazy moment from this interview is with Lucas Cage, who started saying it doesn't matter if he said something like, let me just say here so I don't exactly. He's in favor of common sense. And anyway, he was just saying that who cares if Stalin killed so many people? The point is now. And maybe Stalinists have something to offer. And the response by Hazeldine is, anyway, he just says that he identifies as a Stalinist as well. Anyway, most of it seems to me to be people who really want to find a really interesting propagandistic and deliberately propagandistic term, and they want to put it together. It seems to me that they don't really know what they're talking about, but they have had some people watching, and they have appeared on things like Timcast and Tucker Carlson. And I want to end with the next clip. I want you to watch this and tell me if it seems to you that it kills our brain cells. Let's watch.
No audio again. I can't hear anything. Unless we're just looking at Stalin propaganda, which...
Anyway, it's just, if you don't listen to it, because we don't have audio, he's just, anyway, making insane Stalinist propaganda. He's telling how Stalin was a man of simple means, of humble origins. I like thinking of the same about Trump. He's saying he had a humble origins.
Stalin started out with a small loan that he stole from the bank.
Yes. Anyway, it's just insane Stalinist propaganda. But it seems to me that it's really weird that people nowadays say things like that. Like, who cares if this happened? The history is written by the victors. It's the classic thing that they're trying to whitewash Stalin. anyway, it's just they're talking about how Stalin somehow united Russia and things like that. Anyway, it would be good if we had sound. Okay.
It's made by some commie AI.
Yep. And I can pause and anyway, it's just we can go on the last link. I'll go. One of the worst tweets of all time. It says Karl Marx failed to consider just how dumb everyone is. Humans are just dumb apes who learn to talk good. We're way too stupid to realize that we should be doing communism. I think that's one of the worst tweets of all time.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium contents on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this episode on cults, episode 4. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.